Hi class, Mrs. Calvi here. I'm going to be reviewing variables and expressions. One thing, variable is a letter that represents a quantity that can change. Okay, so that's the definition for variable. So variable is using a letter, and it is always a lowercase letter. So you have to always make sure that your variables are lowercase. All right. Also, there is something that we call a constant. And the constant is a quantity that does not change. So a quantity that does not change, all right? And a constant never has a variable with it, okay? So the constant will just be a number by itself. And once we start getting into examples, you'll understand what the constant is a little bit better. Okay, we are going to be talking about algebraic expressions, and an algebraic expression contains one or more variable and may contain an operational symbol. So for example, I could have 7p, and this represents an algebraic expression. It's considered an algebraic expression because I am using a variable there. So I could have 7p, that would be an algebraic expression. I could have x plus 3, that would be an algebraic expression. I can have n minus 4, that would be an algebraic expression. I can have 25 divided by r, and that's an algebraic expression. They are all algebraic expressions because I am using a variable. Now we will get to the point where we are plugging in a value for that variable. So for example, if I had the algebraic expression x plus 3, and they were telling me that x is equal to 2, what I do to solve is I plug in 2 for x into my algebraic expression, and then I solve. So my final answer here would be 5, because the value of my x was 2, plugging 2 in for x, 2 plus 3 then gives me 5. Now here I have two expressions. I have 150 plus y and 85 divided by 5. Now the one on the left, 150 plus y, this is an algebraic expression because I have a variable involved. The one on my right, 85 divided by 5, is not an algebraic expression because in order for it to be an algebraic expression, I would need to have a variable, all right? So here you will see the word evaluate pretty often. So basically when we evaluate, we are solving by replacing the variable with a value. Pretty much what I just did before when I had x plus 3 and I plugged in 2 for x and then I added my 2 plus 3. So evaluate means to solve by replacing the variable with a value and then coming up with a final answer. Okay, so here for this chart, I have an algebraic expression that says w divided by 11. And they're giving me several values for w, and we need to find the answer, solving, so evaluating this. So we are going to put our values in place of 55 and then solve. So for example, if I plug in 55, if I plug in 55 for w and divide that by 11, that would give me an answer of 5. So I evaluated the algebraic expression after I plugged in the 55 to get an answer of 5. So I'm going to do the same thing for 66 and 77. So I'm going to plug in 66 for w divided by 11, and that would give me an answer of 6. I'm going to plug in 77 for w, divide that by 11, and that's going to give me 7. All right. So I evaluated the algebraic expression once I was given a value for that variable. Okay, so pretty simple. Okay, so here I have an algebraic expression that is a little bit more difficult. They gave us our values for our variable n. What we're going to do is we're going to plug in each of these values into n, and then basically what we have is an order of operation problem. So let's do the first one together. So I am going to drop down my algebraic expression. I'm copying the 4 down. In place of my, drop down my multiplication sign. In place of my n, I'm going to plug in 1. And then I'm going to drop down the rest of the problem. Okay? So now according to the order of operations, I have multiplication, addition, and an exponent. So I would have to solve the exponent first. Okay? So I'm going to kind of squeeze everything in over here. So copy my 4, copy down my x for multiplication, my 1, my addition sign, and then 6 squared means 6 times 6, and that equals 36. So right now, I now have 4 times 1 plus 36. According to order of operations, I have to do multiplication first. So I'm going to do 4 times 1, which is 4. Whoop. That's 4. Drop down my plus sign, drop down my 36. My final operation, 4 plus 36 gives me 40. So when I plugged in 1 for my variable n into this algebraic expression, and once I solved, I came to an answer of 40. So I put 40 in that box. Now I'm going to solve it again, but in place of n, this time I'm going to put the number 2 and solve. Okay, so let's do that. So now I am going to put my 4, the multiplication sign. Now in place of n, I'm now plugging in 2. Put my plus sign and my 6 squared. All right, now I have to work with order of operations. According to the order of operations, I have to do my exponent first. So I am going to keep my 4, keep my multiplication sign, keep my 2, keep my addition sign. 6 squared means 6 times 6, that is 36. According to the order of operations, I have to do multiplication next. 4 times 2 is 8. Drop down my addition sign, drop down my 36. 8 plus 36 is going to give me an answer of 44. So I would be putting 44 in this box. Now I'm going to be solving again, and in place of n, I'm going to be putting 3 in for its value and solving. So let's just erase. And let's put n in now. 3 in now, rather. All right, so keeping the 4, keeping the multiplication sign, plugging in 3 now for n, keeping the addition sign and the 6 squared. According to the order of operations, I have to do 6 squared first. So I'm going to copy the 4, the multiplication sign, the 3, the addition sign. 6 squared equals 36. According to PEMDAS, I have to do multiplication first. That's going to give me 12. Drop down the plus sign, drop down the 36. 12 plus 36 is going to give me an answer of 48. So 48 would be my answer for the last one. So all we are doing is, in order to evaluate an algebraic expression, we're plugging in the value for the variable and solving using order of operations. Okay? Okay, one thing you have to realize, there are a couple of ways that you can write algebraic expressions. So here I have r times 3. I can write that as r with the multiplication dot 3. I can write that as r with my 3 in parentheses, or I can write that as 3r. So when I have a number right next to a variable, it means multiplication. You always, always, always put the number before the variable for multiplication only, okay? So I would not write R3. That is not something you do. You do not put the variable before the number. You always put the number before the variable, All right, so that's 3 different ways you can write it using multiplication. For 35 divided by y, you can write this as 35 divided by y. So the fraction bar means division. And this is most likely how you are going to see division in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade and as you go on in math. You usually don't see the division symbol as often. You will see the fraction bar representing division. Okay? Okay, the last thing I want to go over is solving multi-step algebraic expressions. So I have multiplication here because I have a number right next to a variable. And when they're right next to each other, that means multiplication. And I also have addition. So what I'm going to do is they're telling me that my j is equal to 3. I'm going to plug j in, or 3 in for my j. So I'm going to drop down my 4. I'm going to open up my parentheses, and I'm going to insert the 3, which is the value of the j. I need to put this in parentheses because then I now know that this is still multiplication. Drop down my addition sign, drop down my 12. Now, according to PEMDAS, I have to do multiplication before addition. So 4 times 3 gives me 12. Drop down the addition sign, drop down the 12. My final answer here would be 24. Okay, one thing you have to remember, a number right next to a variable means multiplication. When you go to insert a value of a variable, that number needs to go inside of parentheses. So you then know to multiply it. Okay, that is it for now, and I will talk to you guys soon.